Huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You were saying that you love me, eyes looking past me, smiling in my face while your group chat blast me. Used to split plates, now I split these assets. You was trying to bleed me, I was trying to bless it. We I leveled up, made you feel so small, huh? Tried to stop my steps, fought I before, huh? You was in the crowd when they booed that night. Funny how the hate still paid this life. Hidden in plain sight, you was right there. Knife behind your back, fake love, blank stare. I was better off, yeah, I see that clear. Still I raise a glass for the pain we shared. Thank you for the good times, thank you for the bad. Turned every little cut to the fuel I had. You ain't in my future, but you built this fire. Hidden in plain sight, now I'm higher, yeah. You ain't clapped once when I got that Kool-Aid born on the line. You just watched me store, told me play it safe, said my dreams too loud. Now I'm booked out dates, you just blending crowds. New crib, new keys, same old heart, same scars, new art. Different start, I forgive every time and you hope I break. Cause that pressure made diamonds and all this weight. Hidden in plain sight, you was right there. Knife behind your back, fake love, blank stare. I was better off, yeah, I see that clear. Still I raise a glass for the pain we share. Thank you for the good times, thank you for the bad. Turned every little cut to the fuel I had. You ain't in my future, but you built this fire. Hidden in plain sight, now I'm higher, yeah. I don't wish you hurt, I don't wish you pain. I just keep my distance, staying in my lane. If you ever wonder how I made this climb, you were in the story, just not in the shrine. Hey, hidden in plain sight, hey, you was right there. Hey, knife behind your back, fake love, blank stare. Hey, I was better off, yeah, I see that clear. Hey, still I raise a glass for the pain we share. Thank you for the good times, thank you for the bad. Turned every little cut to the fuel I had. You ain't in my future, but you built this fire. Hidden in plain sight, now I'm higher.
Ring-a-ding-ding. Viewer discretion is advised. This episode of Hidden in Plain Sight with Jazz will discuss topics and evidence relating to an ongoing investigation. All suspects are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Breaking news. Shocking new court documents allege singer D4vd, David Anthony Burke, used a fake name to purchase 2 chainsaws, a body bag, and an inflatable pool on Amazon. Items prosecutors say were used to destroy evidence in the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. David has pleaded not guilty. This is Hidden in Plain Sight with Jazz, presented by OTD Productions. Wow. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jazz. This is Hidden in Plain Sight. You can only watch this on Jazz TV. As always, we are live. Today is April 30th, 2026. Wow. First and foremost, I hope everybody is feeling blessed today. If you're here listening, then we're blessed. Wow. This case is so disturbing. The acts are so heinous that it's quite difficult to actually report on the story and make sure that we are in line with YouTube guidelines. Previous videos, I've had some issues. So today, as you can see, we have from TMZ documents from the actual case. Wow. Wow. Before we get into that, I have an article and I want to pull that up as well. Okay. Okay, give me 1 second. All right. So, right now the screen is frozen. So, give me 1 second. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read it off the iPad because OBS is frozen. And so we're live. What we're going to do is we're going to improvise. Let's go. All right. Okay, so like I said in the opening, apparently David has purchased chainsaws. Remember, if you don't know, currently he has 3 charges against him. Okay. First degree murder, special circumstances, continuous essay, and mutilation of a body of a young individual. Okay. And so it says, this is from the BBC. U.S. singer David has been accused of purchasing tools online, including chainsaws, after prosecutors say he a teen girl to death, which would be Celeste. It says the allegations were released in an evidence filing which details his alleged motive and steps prosecutors say he took to cover his tracks before a 14-year-old Celeste dismembered body was found in the car. It says prosecutors say he met, and I'm not sure in previous lives if we even talked about when he actually first met Celeste. And so they're saying he actually met her when she was 11. And the alleged assaying started when she was 13 and he was 18. So for anybody that is a hardcore David fan that has something to say, like, oh, both teenagers, it's like he met her when she was 11. Okay. And the essaying started when he was 18. And in America, 18 is legal age. You're an adult at 18. And she was 13. Now, I don't know about you, and I haven't been a teenager in a while. But there's no way when I was 18, I had any kind of inclinations to even hang out on some friend with a 13-year-old. Now, if you have little cousins, you have little siblings, it's a different story. But to just be on Discord and start looking for children to be your friend, it's just suspicious. And what I didn't realize is how many popular streamers have streamed with David. I think that's very interesting. And I heard some of them say, well, we didn't know. We didn't know. I'm like, maybe it's just me and how I am on energy. But I will say, how could you not tell something was a little off? I don't know. When I look, hold on. So you can see some photos of David, all right? Because when I look into D4vd's eyes, it's giving soulless. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Okay? This is just how I feel. Oh, there he is right there. Okay? Let's just... Boom. Let's just drag him. Okay, look at his eyes. Look. You telling me everything looks kosher there? I don't see anything. I feel like I said, this is just an opinion, and it's not about the other parts of him and his appearance. This is solely based off energy and me staring. I always tell people, the eyes are the windows to the soul. You've heard that saying, right? And so when you look in this individual's eyes, something looks off. Yeah. Okay, moving on. All right. So let's get on to what was talked about in the court filings just yesterday. Okay. It says in the court filing on Wednesday, which was April 29th, 2026, prosecutors allege that Burke stabbed Celeste multiple times at his home. And now the home he was living in, and they're claiming this is that, wasn't actually his home. It was rented under, I believe, his manager at the time. I'm not sure if he's still being managed by the individual, but that home was under the name of someone else, but he was living there. Okay. And so it says, the filing states prosecutors tracked purchases he made online using a fake name in the days after, including, 2 chainsaws, an inflatable blue pool, a body bag, and a shovel. If you didn't see the clip, if y'all did not see the clip where I said D4vd is beyond cooked and has officially been filleted and barbecued, allegedly. But I mean, are you kidding me? How do you explain? Well, something just popped into my head right now. I'll be honest with you, right? As a creator myself, right? As a producer, as a director, all these things, I think about it and how the character of Itami and the alter ego that he has already established within, I'll say, the multiverse. One could say, if he was his lawyer, oh, well, David was actually working on a music video. Here's the treatment, right? If you think about it, now all of these things are just thoughts popping into my mind, right? How one could, in defense, claim that those items that the prosecution mentioned in court yesterday were not used to actually harm Celeste, but were props, right? Remember, entertainment. So I always bring it back to that lens. And so somebody like Mr. Burke, who has time and time again shown that his artistic way of looking at things is morbid. It's filled with death. I mean, did you guys know that for his Withered tour, he was having funerals? Like, it was I don't want to say like a stunt, but it was part of his tour where when the crew would come in to their next stop, when they're unloading equipment, they're also unloading a hearse. Yes, that is correct. You did hear me right. A hearse with a casket, and you're having dudes bring in the casket, and then they have flowers, and as the audience member and his fans are arriving to the venue, they are first hit with a casket and flowers. I mean, honestly, that's some sick Again, I have never heard of D4vd before this case. I've never even heard a single song from him. Word to the Most High. Not one single song. It was only after this case came across my table, and because of the fact that it deals with SA, and I'm an SA survivor, and I don't like anything involved with individuals that are PDF files. Okay? I think that children, we all were once children, but we're born innocent. And then things and individuals come along our life and corrupt us. And so I'm always and going to be an advocate for justice regarding things like this. I had somebody, and I'll get back to the article, but this is important for anybody else that wants to leave comments. And I always encourage a dialogue, but it's respectful. And so somebody had dropped a comment on a video where I talked about how this case is not glamorous. If you haven't seen that clip on Jazz TV, it's not glamorous. It's not The Devil Wears Prada, which released tomorrow. It wasn't the Michael Jackson movie. But it's important because this 21-year-old man, and he was 20 when he did this, he does have massive influence. And this individual, they were upset with me because I guess they were a David fan. They mentioned something to the tune of, David has influence? What about this person and that person and Little Dirk and Melly and all these things? And I'm like, sir, or whoever you are, first off, most of those people you mentioned are already in prison or jail or awaiting trial. Okay? There's the first thing. The second thing, there are tons of creators that's all they talk about in the music game. Okay? This channel, like I said, I'm talking about this case because of the nature and the fact that it has to do with this young girl who did not deserve this. And so the individual was talking about that, and then they ended with, "You make me sick." I laugh because I laughed when I read it, and I laugh now. Because, sir, you absolutely have the right to get out of here and not watch. You also have the right to watch another creator make content on the individuals you are interested in. And I do not harbor any ill will towards that. But what you won't do is be disrespectful in my comment section. Especially when it's not warranted. Because those individuals, you don't see me out here supporting them or talking about them, but the acts that they've committed are towards adults, which doesn't make it any better. But this is important because there's a war going on. There's a war going on in Iran, and there's a war going on in the home front. So, I just wanted to address that because going forward, I want everyone to understand. Yes, please comment, please engage, right? You don't even have to necessarily agree, right? But it's the manner to which you communicate your disagreement. Moving on. Sorry if I had to get a little, a little boss corporate like on it, but it takes nothing to be kind. You understand? So, okay. Now, they're saying he used a fake name online. So, he uses a fake name online to buy 2 chainsaws, an inflatable blue pool, which if you don't understand what that is, it's like the little kiddie pools. It's like the little kiddie pools. I'm gonna see if I can input a new screen capture so we can get this going, because OBS is on some BS. OBS is on some BS. Okay. Oh, wait. It says I can add existing. Let me see. Listen, it would be so much easier if I just had somebody that was doing all this and I could just talk. You see, I gotta wear multiple hats. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do that. Okay. Are you guys excited for The Devil Wears Prada? Who's going to see The Devil Wears... First of all, Lady Gaga and Doechii? Yo. That song is fire. I'm not even gonna cap. I ain't gonna even hold you. Strike a pose. What? That song is fire. Absolutely. Okay, we are live. Hold on. Is it turning? What we were. Let me see if I refresh. You guys think it's gonna be good? I know that in Hollywood, they're definitely gonna be doing who's gonna win the box office? Is it going to be The Devil Wears Prada 2, or is it gonna stay Michael Jackson? Okay. Is this the right one? Nope. 1 second. OBS, you on some BS? OBS, you on some BS? OBS, you're on some BS. I'm gonna try one more time, because I do have some other things to do today, I'm not gonna lie. But I had to update y'all on the new things. I should have updated you yesterday, but I was pretty busy. All right, let's try this one more time. try this one more time. Hold on. Hold on. All right, it's not working. You saw that, right? All right. Moving on. I'm sure some of y'all logged off. Moving on. Okay. Okay. So it says they allege he also purchased a burn cage and made plans to incinerate evidence, the filing states. So if you don't know what incinerate means burn. Burn up the evidence. He wants to burn the evidence, allegedly. And they allege he also purchased a burn cage and made plans to... A burn cage? What is a burn cage? What is a burn cage? Hold on. What is that? Can I tell y'all that as soon as you type in bird cage on Google, you see D4vd. What? Check this out. Look, there he is right there. Wow. Oh, so a burn cage is like a stainless steel structure that you put stuff in and you burn it. That's a burn cage. Wow. It says it can reach temperatures up to 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. So that's how hot it can get. Wow. So it says the filing outlines previous interactions authorities had with the singer, including after the teen was reported missing in 2024 by her family. It says prosecutors say that text messages, how do you explain this? Allegedly. Yeah. Prosecutors say the text messages outline a lengthy argument on the 22nd of April in 2025 over the singer's relationship with other women. Says Celeste texted threats to disclose damaging information about her relationship with the defendant to end his career, the filing states. Wow. Prosecutors say in the court document that they believe the teen was, the following day. Wow. It says prosecutors say David ordered an Uber for Celeste that day to come to his home and she was dropped off there. They say he texted her multiple times asking where she was, but prosecutors allege that the messages were part of his plan to cover up the murder, the filing states. It says David's first studio album was released that week on the 25th of April. Wow. So, wow. Do you guys understand what that's about? So, they had an argument on April 22nd, 2025 over his apparent relationship with other women. So here's the issue I have just with that line alone from the BBC is that Celeste is a girl. She's a little girl. She's not even a woman. She's not even a woman with other women. So really what they should have said, and it's quite disturbing, is that with women, not other women, just women. right? It says, on April 22nd, 2025, over the singer's relationship with women. Or should say with adult women. You understand? That's what they should have said. Because Celeste is not, she's a girl. This is a little girl. And so, jealousy, right? I wonder if the defense, I can't see them having any kind of defense, honestly. And I think that's why they want a longer time frame for the preliminary hearing, because David's defense needs to figure out what angle are we coming from. I think they need more time. I think that I believe there's mention that his defense wants to see the evidence that they have, I guess, so they can figure out if it's even worth their time to defend. For all we know, D4vd might plead guilty and not even go to trial. Now, we don't know. This is just speculation. This is just thoughts. These are just opinions. But the truth of the matter is, the more I read about this case and the more things that come out, and honestly, I feel like every update in this case, more and more things are occurring, and it's getting more and more disturbing. A chainsaw? This guy thought, what is that movie? Is it Halloween? No, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Whoever the psycho killer is in that film, who does that? Did the show in Dexter? Did Dexter ever even use a chainsaw? I need y'all to comment and let me know if Dexter, even though, can I tell y'all, chat? I actually worked on the newest Dexter, not the show. I did promo. There was promotional marketing for the show, still Paramount, still Showtime. And so I was there and I saw Uma Thurman. I don't even think I told most people that. Girl, I saw Uma. I never really thought, I was never starstruck. I haven't been starstruck over anybody. But something about Uma Thurman, like, you look at that lady and it's like, whoa, like, that's a movie star. Straight up. I don't even know if they make them like that. It almost looked like, first of all, the amount of people surrounding Uma Thurman, a lot of people. And while we were kind of like crossing paths, I was just trying to duck and dodge. I was doing my job. Of course, excellency is the standard when it comes to OTD. Yet, I was just trying to get to where I needed to get to. It was a big studio. And so I'm going to do what I got to do. And here is Uma Thurman coming this way. Okay? And I'm looking at her like, this lady, first of all, is beautiful. Just in case any of you guys ever thought she wasn't, Uma Thurman is very beautiful. And it was just like an aura. You know how all the young people talk about aura. You know who got aura? Uma, Mother, and Thurman. She got aura, okay? And I was this close to Michael C. Hall. I wasn't trying to bother him or nothing. I was, doing my job, something else. No offense to him. Not the same. It was like the radiance coming off of Uma, crazy. The reason why I'm talking about this is because this guy allegedly do you know how sick that is? And then a few days later, his album dropped. Is it his first studio album? Yes. David's first studio album was released that week on April 25th. The argument was on the 22nd. And so between 3 days, he allegedly took her out. Yo. And he probably was going to mad parties. Going to mad parties, celebrating and just cheesing it up. Now my question is did nobody sense a change in him? Or is he just like so cold-blooded that nobody would even think he could do anything like this? Allegedly. Oh, wow. And so it says, in the days after her alleged killing, prosecutors say the singer made an array of purchases online to dispose of Celeste's body. The filing alleges he dismembered her remains in the garage of his Hollywood Hills home. The court document also states that surveillance footage shows Burke was the wow. Court document also states that surveillance footage shows Burke was the last person to drive his Tesla, where the body was found in September. May, June, July, August. 5 months. 5 months she was in the Tesla frunk. Yo. The filing released on Wednesday has offered the most detailed timeline since the case captured international attention last year. Ooh. It says in court on Wednesday, which was yesterday, his attorneys tried to block the release of the 9-page filing, saying it will lead to more media coverage and could affect him getting a fair trial. A fair trial? I mean, we must respect due process, okay? We respect due process over here. With that being said, Papa, filleted and... Oh, my dog. Not you, Papi. Lay down. Not you. Go to sleep. It's okay. Not you. I called my dog that, so he thought I was tolling him. Wow. And so it's saying his most... Listen, forget all that. I saw on Spotify that David currently has over 30 million individuals streaming his music. 35 million right now. He's making money. Y'all trying to give him commissary so he can get a couple Twinkies, huh? Y'all trying to help D4vd get a couple Twinkies. Listen, I'm sure when he's in Gen Pop, he might get a Twinkie or two. Yikes. Wow. And so his most viral hits are Romantic Homicide and Here With Me. And he was on tour when the police found her body. Oh my gosh. All right, so what I'm going to do is, because we're having issues with OBS, in the clips, when I edit this later on, I will most definitely put everything there. And I encourage you guys to watch the episode once it's fully edited. But if you're here with me live, I appreciate that. Shout out to you. Okay, so let's go to TMZ so I can read some of what was inside the filing. And this actually might be a little bit better. That way, I can pick and choose what I can read. Meaning, I'm going to be 100% transparent, But in order for this video to actually be able to play on the channel without YouTube taking it down, I have to be careful about what is shown on the screen, what I say. And it's just getting more and more stricter every day. Oh, that rhymed. I'm just a rhyming fool. Okay, so I want to get to... Hold on. The amount of ads on TMZ is ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Jeez. I gotta be careful I don't get a virus on this. What? TMZ, y'all, don't you guys have money? Like, aren't y'all rich AF? The amount of ads on here for TMZ kind of literally makes no sense. I'll be honest. It kind of makes no sense, but whatever. Here it is. All right. Oh, gosh. I'm like trying to prepare my stomach. All right. The people of the state of California, plaintiff versus David Anthony Burke, defendant. To the Honorable Judge Charlene Almeida, if I pronounced that wrong, apologies, of the above entitled court, and to the defendant and his counsel of record, the people submit the following brief to provide a roadmap for the evidence the people intend to introduce at the preliminary hearing scheduled to begin May 1st, 2026. So, if they do have the hearing tomorrow, I will be live and I will talk about it. We're not sure if they're still gonna be sticking to that, but in the filing, this is what it says. All right, so it says background facts. Okay. The dismembered body of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. Oh, it just says Celeste R. All right, so we'll just keep it at Celeste R. Hold on. You guys want some music? Hold on. Just as good. It's going to be more dramatic. It'll be more dramatic. Not that it needs to be. Not that it needs to be. At all. But since my screen's not working, I could do a little something for y'all. And if you like this song, let me know. I'll put it on Spotify. Alright, let me lower that. Whoa. Okay. Okay. We live. You don't get more live than this. Alright. The dismembered body of 14-year-old Celeste R. was discovered in the front trunk of defendant's Tesla Model X on September 8th, 2025. The vehicle had been towed 3 days prior from 145 Bluebird Avenue, which is parked approximately 400 feet from the defendant's home at 1368 Doheny Place in the Hollywood Hills. Surveillance video and other evidence confirm defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29, 2025, before he left his Los Angeles home to go on concert. On September 8th, 2025, the manager of the tow yard where the Tesla had been impounded noted the strong smell of decay and the presence of flies coming from the vehicle. He notified Los Angeles Police Department Hollywood auto detectives, who determined the Tesla was registered to defendant through departmental resources. At the tow yard, LAPD detectives opened the Tesla's front storage compartment and observed a black cadaver bag covered in insects. Inside the bag, they discovered a severely decomposed and torso. A plastic garbage bag beneath the black cadaver bag contained the dismembered arms and legs. However, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand. Oh. Wow, I have not read this. This finger and this finger on the left hand had been and were not found in the Tesla. Wow. I want to just again mention viewer discretion is advised. Some things you hear you might find disturbing. All parties are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Wow. Oh my gosh. It says on September 16, 2025, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department positively identified the body from dental records as belonging to the victim. Pursuant to the investigation, LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined the victim and defendant met in January 2022 when she was just 11 years old. They began a lectual relationship in November 2023 when the victim was just 13 years old and the defendant was 18. Detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family who lived in Lake Elsinore in February and April 2024. RCSD telephonically contacted defendant on February 17, 2024 after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. Ooh, what? What? During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last on February 13th or 14th, Valentine's Day, potentially, allegedly, but stated he was unaware she was a minor. Tricky, D4vd, because we saw a stream. If you haven't noticed, if you haven't seen, check the internet. There's a lot of videos that allegedly potentially show a young looking girl who looks like Miss Hernandez. And they mention things about being young and people calling him Epstein. So that, I don't know. We have to wait to the hearing and the trial. If they go to trial, it starts. RCSD advised him that the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department deputies would be coming to his home. On that day, defendant was living at 804 North Doheny Place in West Hollywood, RCSD requested that LASD conduct a welfare check at defendant's home. LASD deputies went to the defendant's home that night at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was a 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed he was unaware she was a minor, and he had only met the victim once in person in November 2023. However, defendant showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim he had on his cell phone. Wow. Wow. Although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. Ooh. You guys understand what that said? Although he claimed he was unaware of where the victim was, after the welfare check, she went back home 2 days later. Despite being informed by law enforcement the victim was only 13, defendant continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents took her cell phone away. Defendant drove to Lake Eleanor or Elsinore and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give the victim a cell phone defendant purchased so they could stay in contact. So when I read this, I think about how way back in 2025, the internet was talking about how D4vd did exactly this, that he would go to interact with these kids, but to pay them so that there's a way they can connect with Celeste, allegedly. And inside of this filing, they just mentioned that. Again, in the full episode that's edited, I will put up that clip or those photos, as long as they haven't been scrubbed from the internet, of what I'm speaking about. That potentially could be what the prosecution has mentioned. Wow. So he's paying other teenagers that are in her school or that know her $1,000 to give him or aka her a phone so they can communicate without being tracked by the police. Throughout 2024, the victim spent a significant amount of time with defendant, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills and traveling with him to Las Vegas. Is that schmex trafficking? Las Vegas, London? So he took her to international waters. Over to Texas, to Las Vegas? Is that schmex trafficking? Are the feds gonna get involved with this? People, that's what they were alleging the diddler, because he was traveling with the prostitutes. What? It says text exchanges between the victim and defendant contain references to schmex, pregnancy, and abortion, and the use of Plan B emergency contraceptive. Could have Celeste been pregnant? This is why we have to talk about this. Because there's 35 million individuals that are listening to this man right now. And the crimes he's alleged to have done. If he ever wanted to go down in history, David, you have definitely solidified yourself as infamous. There are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their schmeck's relationship. In November 2024, defendant and the victim broke up. Although they continue to communicate and text messages suggest they also continue to have relations. April 23rd, 2025 is the likely date of the victim's death. Wow. And when all her cellular activity ceased. Ooh, mind you, Withered, the album, dropped the 25th, 2 days later. Wow. Since the night prior, April 22nd, 2025, defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. The messages reveal the victim's jealousy over defendant's relationships with other women, as defendant led her to believe they had a future together. Grooming a young girl. And this is probably her first who she thinks she's in love with, this man. And it's her whole everything. If she's had a rough childhood or it's been turbulent in her home, she's looking for love. And here's this guy with the hazel eyes. Well, come over here. I understand you. It's just sick. I'm not even gonna lie, it's just sick. Give me 1 second while I let my dog. This is gonna be a little bit of some time, so get yourself a snack, all right? Get yourself a little something, and I'll be right back. To say I need my glasses is an understatement. All right, give y'all a second to get back, get ready. Let me lower this a little bit. Okay, this is a lot. Okay, so if you need a second just to gather your thoughts as we continue, please do so. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it says, there are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their schmeck's shit. In November 2024, defendant and the victim broke up, although they continued to communicate, and text messages suggest they also continue to have relations. April 23rd, 2025 is the likely date of the death and when all her cellular activities cease. The night prior, April 22nd, 2025, defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument described in detail in their text messages. The messages reveal the victim's jealousy over defendant's relationship with other women, as defendant led her to believe they had a future together. She became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with defendant to end his career and destroy his life. Well, I think we can accurately say life is destroyed. Regardless of whatever craziness may occur in the end result, I don't see him ever coming back from this. But stranger things have occurred. So, I just gotta take a second. I gotta take a second because alright. Defendant's first studio album was due to be released on April 25th, 2025. He had an emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. He also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable. He did. It says, at approximately 8:40 on April 23rd, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Elsinore home to his residence. They communicated before and during her Uber ride, which dropped her off at the defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10:10 p.m. Now, if you're into numerology, well, you know a little something about that. 10:10 is end of cycles. It's completion. And that's eerie. That's very, very eerie that she was dropped off at his home at 10:10 p.m. Whoa. That's actually kind of eerie. Look up the number 1010. At approximately 10:30 p.m., defendant sent text messages to the victim inquiring where she was. The people contend that this was part of defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. Oh. I just got that. Did you guys understand what that said? That the Uber dropped her off at 10:10 at the Hollywood Hills home. By 10:30, she was already gone. And that allegedly D4vd texted her phone to cover up his tracks. Wow. Knowing he had to silence the victim. Hold on. Yes, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career as she had threatened. Very soon after her arrival at his home. Wow. Defendant the victim to multiple times and stood by while she let out. At no time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to attempt to save her life. At no time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to attempt to save her life. This thing makes my stomach turn, yo. I'm having difficulty reading it. Despite knowing she was dead and her family was trying to find her, the evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. In fact, defendant drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. Oh. yo, there may not be a trial. There may not be a trial. Because unless they're going to plead insanity. Unless they're going to plead insanity. It says at approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he texted and called the victim's phone, asking where she was. Again, this is him allegedly covering his tracks. Straight out of a Netflix movie. Again, these were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense within a very short timeline after the victim's vicious murder. Defendant drove his Tesla north on the 101 freeway to San Marcos Pass Road, SR 154 near Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County. He returned home early the following morning on April 24th, 2025. Before going to a radio interview for the release of his album that week. I think I actually came across on my feed that podcast. If it correlates to this, I will 100% put it in the clip. Wow. This is explosive. And I know when people say that, I always remember like explosive. But literally, this is explosive. This is explosive. We've been waiting since, I mean, I know I have. Once I heard this case, I was wondering what happened to this case. They're not talking about this no more. They're talking about this. They're talking about that. But what about this? And how is this guy still performing? This was before they canceled things. Because I couldn't believe it. And now, I believe what they're saying. He returned home early the following morning on April 24th, 2025, before going to a radio interview for the release of his album that week. He sent 2 additional texts to the victim's phone that day, which obviously went unanswered because she was already dead. After April 26, 2025, defendant never attempted to contact her again. So, allegedly, the prosecution is saying that he covered his tracks up until April 26. And they're claiming that on April 23rd is when the victim was murdered. So 3 days, a total of 3 days of trying to cover his tracks. Wow. I guess he should have changed the title of his song from Romantic Homicide to Romantic Murder. Nothing romantic about it. I don't understand. Okay. Tellingly, defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body. On April 24th, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. Wow. So after the victim, he then ordered tools to carry out the rest of his scheme to dismember her. And so the shovel he bought from Home Depot and was delivered from Postmates. That was April 24th, 2025. Then, on May 1st, 2025, defendant David Anthony Burke ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered two, not one, but two chainsaws to his home. Wow. So the timeline, April 24th, 2025, D4vd orders a shovel from Home Depot. It gets delivered by Postmates. Then, on May 1st, 2025, David orders two chainsaws from Amazon. Must have been a better deal. Then, on May 5th, 2025, defendant ordered from Amazon a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. He made these purchases under the fake name Victoria Mendez. Another female? He couldn't even pretend to have been a dude? On May 8th, well, let's do a recap. After the alleged murder of Celeste, he then orders a shovel, two chainsaws, a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool. And he made all these purchases under the name of Victoria Mendez. I'm like almost at a loss for words. How? I need a water break. I'm not even gonna lie. I need a water break. This guy, I'll give him something. He's very creative. D4vd is very creative. I will give him that. But hold on, I need a water break. Give me 1 second. This is a little bit different than the typical episodes for Hidden in Plain Sight. We had the technical difficulties a little bit earlier, and now we're reading the preliminary. And viewer discretion is advised. We got to take breaks because this is a lot. Okay. I had to get me some water because, as y'all heard, I'm like stuttering a little bit. Okay. I hope you guys went to the bathroom if you need to. Got yourself situated. And we can continue on. Okay. Okay. So, on May 8th, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to the area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site off SR 154, where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered in January 2026. So I'm trying to understand that last part I read. Santa Barbara County. Oh, okay. Oh, so that's Santa Barbara County is where he might have actually did the deed and dismembered. So let's scroll back down. Okay, so this is him. He returned back to the site where their potential allegedly dismemberment occurred. He went there a few times. It says, additionally, on July 7, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burn cage to his home under the fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. So give me 1 second. Okay, apologies. I'm not sure if you heard my dog barking in the background. Wow. So remember, they're saying April 22nd or April 23rd is when the victim allegedly perished. And it wasn't until July 7th that he ordered a burn cage to destroy the evidence. So based off this, he had the evidence with him since April, May, June. So for 3 months, he had the evidence with him, and he didn't dispose of it or try to dispose of it until July. Wow. Sorry, y'all. For such a tiny dog, he has such a big bark. Okay. Okay. Senor. Okay. Ooh. Sometimes I gotta scan a little bit before just to make sure I don't say anything too crazy. It says, moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her. Oh my gosh. It says small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the remains, which were collected by Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department. The fragments were analyzed by the LAPD's Forensic Science Division Trace Analysis Unit. An expert was able to make a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant in May 2025. Oh, I was wondering. I'll be honest. As I'm reading this, I'm always so astonished how investigators are able to piece together these crimes and the stories and the timeline. I'm like, how did y'all find all this out? That's probably what D4vd's saying. How did you guys find this out? I thought I did a good job. Wow. It says an expert was able to make a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated this one and this one because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers have not been recovered. Oh, defendant then placed her this and that into the cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her I don't want to get banned from YouTube for reading this. That's why it's so difficult to read. I'm like, oh my gosh. It's difficult because it's disturbing. It's difficult because it's a child. It's difficult because it's horrifying. But it's also difficult to make sure that I censor something I haven't even read before. He placed the parts into a garbage bag, which he deposited into the front trunk, laying the cadaver bag on top. For several weeks or possibly months, defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. Oh, you guys are in the chat. Let me see if I can pull this up. Dumbest criminal ever. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Allegedly, we have to wait until there's a guilty verdict, right? But yes, this must be, well, dumbest, and also this is highly gruesome. It says, for several weeks or possibly months, defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. He lied to friends, business associates, and others who noticed the strong smell of decay in and around his home and vehicle. Oh, what? So my question is, if those individuals smell decay, death, it's like, do you know what the smell of a dead animal smells like? Like in a basement, have you ever been in a home or grew up where, a rat or something died in the wall, and then all of a sudden you're like, it just smells horrid. It smells like death. I don't know, but rancid. It's terrible. And so they noticed the smell of decay, and I don't think they said anything. They're saying he lied to them, but it says before leaving on his concert tour at the end of July, he parked his Tesla on the street around the corner from his home. LAPD served a search warrant at defendant's home at 1368 Doheny Place on September 17, 2025, after the victim was identified by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner on September 16, 2025. Inside the garage, detectives discovered evidence consistent with the dismemberment of the victim's body in the inflatable pool, which contained multiple linear cuts. Oh, okay, so I'm thinking from what I just read, he had the body in the pool and was taking the chainsaw. This is so sick. It was taking the machinery and was doing what he was doing, allegedly. And that pool also received like some cuts into it as he was trying to, It says several biological samples which tested positive for blood were collected within the garage area. DNA analysis determined that various samples matched the victim's unique genetic profile. On December 9th, 2025, the medical examiner ruled the victim's death a homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. Wow. On January 17, 2025, the victim's U.S. passport card was found by a Caltrans worker. Ooh, wow. Off of SR 154 in Santa Barbara County. Wow. So I guess the only identification card the victim had was a U.S. passport card. And in an attempt to get rid of everything, he must have did a little toss, but he didn't toss far enough. And allegedly, a Caltrans worker found it. Wow. Evidence says the people will present the following evidence at the preliminary hearing, including but not limited to. That would be tomorrow. This is what they're asking for it to be tomorrow. Will it be? I'm not sure. If it is, I will go live. The description of photographs depict... I don't know if I can say this. Ooh, I don't know if I can say this. Ugh. He had photographs of the victim in uncomfortable birthday suits, yeah, and then activity as the evidence constitute. Look up what CSAM stands for. As the evidence constitutes CSAM, look that up. The photographs themselves will not be presented. Look that up and you'll see why. But obviously, they're not going to show the photographs because they're in compromising positions for the victim, which is a child. It says while all possible charges that could be proven were not filed, the CSAM is proof of their ongoing relations while the victim was 13 and 14. Numerous text messages between defendant and the victim evidencing their relations. Ooh, pregnancy. Ooh, abortion. Ooh, and the use of Plan B emergency contraception. Holy messages through March 2025 prove defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged. Oh, all we do is have schmecks and just hang out, man. I want more. Oh, yo. If he wanted to do that, why not find a woman your own age? 13, 14, you're finding your first love, you're feeling the feelings of emotion. And here this guy is, Senor Hazel, probably manipulating, telling sweet nothings to this little girl. Oh, nah. Hell nah. Defendant's cellular activity and communications derived from defendant's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendant's activities from April 22nd, 2025 to April 24th, 2025, including a trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. Surveillance video of defendant driving his Tesla. Remember? I don't know about y'all, but a lot of people were asking, don't Teslas have cameras? Shouldn't Tesla have recorded this? Well, now we know. There is surveillance video of the defendant driving his Tesla on July 29th, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. DNA evidence developed from bloodstains collected from defendant's garage, which matched the victim's genetic profile. What? Proof of defendant's Amazon purchases and deliveries to his residence, including, we talked about this, the 2 chainsaws, the body bag, an inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a burn cage after April 24th, 2025. Proof of defendant's purchase and delivery from Postmates of a shovel from Home Depot to his home on April 24th, 2025. Uber records showing defendant's transaction where he ordered an Uber to pick up the victim from Lake Elsinore home and transport her to his residence the night of April 23rd, 2025. So they had proof of all the purchases from Amazon, from Postmates, from Home Depot, Uber. They had proof of defendant's lucrative career as a singer and songwriter prior to April 23rd, 2025. Defendant has an album release party on the night of April 24th, 2025 before embarking on an international tour in late July 2025. Yo, he does all these things to this girl, allegedly, and then he goes to his album release party 2 days later. Text message exchanges between defendant and the victim on April 22nd and April 23rd, 2025, where the victim threatened to expose defendant and destroy his career. This is the last piece of evidence they have. They have the text message exchange between both of them that show, hey, I'm going to tell everybody. You'll be nothing. Your career will be destroyed once everyone knows what you've been doing to me. I thought you loved me. Now, I don't know if these are what the text messages said. These, based off what I'm reading, is what I'm thinking is happening. It says, in conclusion, this brief is filed to assist the court in understanding the scope and relevance of evidence the prosecution intends to present at the preliminary hearing. The prosecution has issued numerous subpoenas and is prepared to proceed with the preliminary hearing. The defense had multiple opportunities to request a continuance, but has not done so. The prosecution is ready. And they're saying, hey, we gave you multiple chances to be prepared for tomorrow. And they haven't done it, Judge. And so, let's do this tomorrow. Regardless of whether they're prepared or not. Because we gave them the time to do so. And now the time is here, and we're ready. Defense has, it says, the defense had multiple opportunities to request a continuance, but has not done so. Furthermore, California Penal Code 1050 requires the defense to provide at least 2 court days' notice to request a continuance. In view of the limited scope of evidence to be presented at the preliminary hearing detailed in this brief, there should be no substantial impediment to moving forward with the hearing as scheduled. What? Dated this 29th day of April 2026. This was yesterday. Respectfully submitted, Nathan Hotchman, District Attorney of Los Angeles County, and Beth Silverman, Deputy District Attorney. Wow. I wouldn't be surprised that as soon as I end this stream, YouTube's gonna be sending me an email like, skirt. This video will not be monetized. Skirt. It is not suitable for ads. Listen, this is, like I said, viewer discretion advised. This is not suitable for many individuals. But this is just insane. Wow. Okay, so I guess I'm going to have to wait and see what's happening tomorrow. And if the preliminary hearing continues as the prosecution has demanded it should, then we're going to talk about it. And I will have this up and working. Technology, right? They want to say that AI is going to take over. Yeah, but if AI take over everything and things like this happen, where's the humans to fix it? You know what I'm saying? If all AI, look, you're going to need human people to be able to like tinker and stuff. Anyway, listen, I appreciate y'all. Shout out to @JustThink2000 for commenting in the chat. Much appreciated. I couldn't respond back because OBS is frozen. Like I said, I'm lucky you guys can even hear me. I can't even open the chat bigger. Ridiculous. Anyway, as always, all praise to the Most High. Without the Most High, I am nothing and nobody. And so I hope that you stay safe. Hope you're able to enjoy the sun. And be careful out here. Because